The Kinera Verdandi. Let's talk about it. This set was sent from a friend. He got it in a trade, so I've kind of had some lucky opportunities to demo some crazy sets. This is a multi-tribid IEM, and it is a interesting IEM done by Kinera. This is an expensive IEM that I feel like didn't really take off, and it's kind of a peculiar, interesting IEM, but it has some great qualities and characteristics. Let's get into it. Now, this IEM is for sale. I've listed it on AV Exchange about a week ago, and I've had some good time to be able to demo it. Now, it does a really nice packaging. Let's take a look at it here. It has a nice cable with all different types of connectors. The cable itself is kind of thin. I'm not going to fully unpackage it because I want to keep it in nice condition to resell, as this is not my unit, but I just kind of wanted to peek at it. I think it's a very okay cable, and it could be of higher quality, but it does have multiple connectors. There's a wide selection of tips, and I do like this box that it comes in. I think it's great. I mean, you can see it has like 12 different sets of tips, and it's a wide variety of tips. It looks good, and it's a fun unpackaging experience. As far as fit goes, this is a large IEM. You can tell this is just kind of a massive shell. It doesn't bother me, but it is wide, but it does have a nice nozzle, and it's not too wide for me. I didn't have problems with ear tips coming off it. I think the shell itself is fully beautiful. I like kind of the blue and gold that it has with it. It just looks nice, and it looks and feels premium to hold, and that's something to note, as it is a very nice shell of an IEM with a good lip, sits well in ear, and fit for me on this IEM. Despite it being large, I didn't really have any problems with it, and it was really nice. At 6.56 grams, this is pretty light. If you compare this to the Magic 1 at 4.10 grams, it's pretty fair. You can see it right here on the comparison chart versus the Magic 1. You can tell it's just a lot larger, filling up a lot more space. Okay, the Kinera Verdandi graph. As we look at this, you'll notice it deviates from the target in a few regions, and in other regions it kind of doesn't. A lot of this depends on where you're normalizing this. So if we set these equal to each other, like if we hit this at around 500, you'll notice like it hits the base target right about right, but there's a ton of energy here, and it just comes across really bright and kind of fluffy to me, and I kind of don't really like the mids or the air on this. It kind of ruins the experience for me, although the base shelf and the dip is kind of nice. I want to show you a few other graphs as we kind of go up the chain and kind of talk about it as we go. But like, I want to show this as the Kinera Celeste Relentless. This is one of my favorite IEMs from Kinera. Like, Kinera does some different things. This one to me was fun. It kind of had this nice, engaging, a little bit more bass, you know, a little bit less upper mids, and a little bit more extra air presence. So it had a unique sound that I kind of dug. It was different. It was kind of special. I don't know. I thought if you're going for something that's a flavored sound, which kind of Kinera is sort of known for, that would kind of be the one that I personally would enjoy. It's also $170, and it's also packaged extremely well. Another one to look at is like the Phoenix Call. Like the Phoenix Call, you can see like these are both kind of V-shaped, but if you compare this is like the Phoenix Call with a little bit less of that, you know, mid bass and lower mids presence, but a ton more of that presence area region and just kind of treble area. It also has a lot of energy right around here, around 5K, which is, you know, something that I personally don't like. Another one that I looked at, you know, the Hydro. Like, to me, the Hydro, it is a big V-shaped set, but I thought it had less of that 1.5K energy and a little bit more bass to kind of make it a little bit more even kiltered and just kind of sound overall better. And again, it didn't have that 5K energy peak. That's just one that, I don't know, if you're going for a V-shaped signature and you don't want to spend as much money, the Hydro is actually pretty good in that regards. Another one, just kind of like the Chopin. Like this, to me, there's a lot of IEMs. This is like a harmon shaped IEM, but you'll notice how much more flat it is, how much it gets rid of that 1K energy, has that increased bass presence. Just something to kind of note. Another one that's kind of the darling of the audiophile world right now is the Kiwi Ears KE4. It's just something I'd really recommend for a lot cheaper of a price. Has a unique tune, and it's an overall really nice sound. Um, this IEM overall, like if you look at it, it's a solid set, but I think it has problems, and I think it needs EQ. This EQ that I gave it, this is just EQing to my target. You'll notice it gets rid of, it helps out the bass and that lower mid-range region. It helps get rid of some of that upper treble and that 5K peak. Like something that this reminds me of, I wanted to show you guys real quick, would be the Fat Frequency Maestro Mini. And the Maestro Mini has kind of this crazy dip, or not dip, but a peak right here around 4K. And that kind of what reminded me a little bit of Verdandi. Like, could have been good, had some potential, but that peak right there kind of ruined part of that frequency response for me, and I just didn't really enjoy it or appreciate it. Okay, let's rank this thing up. The Kinera Verdandi. It has decent bass. Its mids are just too much for me and are just very kind of drab and boring. Its air and detail is there. So if you like that tuning, if you like a lot of treble, this could be a good one for you. It has a nice sound signature. Overall, I do think it has nice technicalities, but I just feel like it's not really worth the price. Let's talk some music. With the Marriage of Figaro, which is my favorite song from Shawshank Redemption, and it just sounds tinny and old. The vocals are nice, but the instruments feel really recessed, and I just don't really like the way that it's almost too vocal forward for my liking. I feel like this is a hard song to get right, and that's one of the reasons I love testing with this song, because it gives me a good idea of if it can hit the timbre, and if that song can sound good, it usually does a good job with a lot of other songs. O mio babino caro. It has great pianos. The pianos sound nice. The vocals sound nice. It's airy. It's pleasant. It's delightful. But it's kind of meh, and it gets a little bit piercing. In the next one, Verdi Rigilo, there's just, the male vocals lack depth and richness. They're too high and not deep enough. The beats on the drum in Iron Man are just, they're too light. They're airy. The electronic portion is really great, and it does a good job with that, but the electronic guitars just sound really off and kind of almost like someone's playing a child's instrument. There's a lot of extra shimmer when we get to like I Will Survive. That song has a lot of shimmer. And it does sound pleasant. It does sound spacious there. So it's funny how like, even as I am that I don't like, I'm always going to find some songs that I think are really great. I mean, with the Smiths sounds majestic, just mellow, and it does a really good job with this song. And I'm really impressed with A Light That Never Goes Out. And it's amazing. Jump, the initial sequence is fun, but there's too much air. It comes across delicate, chill, where it should be a little bit more engaging and fun. Like the crazy start in Dicky Titan, it just feels off. It doesn't have enough dynamic. And metals tracks like Master of Puppets and Dicky Titan, that air, the potential of shout makes it so you have to really listen to it at low volumes. And if you try to really go for it and really hit it really loud, that extra air and treble becomes too much for me and a little bit too shouty. Whereas like on other tracks, it's kind of nice to hear that vocal forwardness, but on most music, this isn't the case, and this becomes a little bit more of a chilled listen. So I liked this IEM, but I found it to be a little bit of a specialist. I thought it had sufficient bass, I thought it had sufficient sound quality, and I thought it was detailed with good resolution and technicals, but just the tune of it was just a little bit too much for me on certain tracks, and it lacked a sense of naturalness that I want, that I expect from my IEMs. It's funny that like sometimes as you go up the chain and you experience these more expensive IEMs, you get to realize that they're not always going to be on par with other IEMs, that there's sometimes something about them that that they're good, but they're almost a flavored tune. And sometimes you're better off getting a set that's cheaper or trying it first to see if that's something you would like. This is something that if I owned it, I might reach for it. I might want to listen to it. But because it has so much treble, it messes with the tonality for with how I want to hear my IEMs. And I just feel that, you know, I feel like there's other IEMs from Kinera, like the Rentless and other IEMs for a lot cheaper that have similar build quality that would be a better fit for many people. Despite this not being bad, it is a flavored approach that's a little bit too far in that flavored direction for me. Thanks for watching my video. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below.
You're still here. It's over. Go home. Go watch another IEM video. It's done. That's the entire video. What more do you want?